Is the pay-per-lead model actually profitable? That's the question that we're going to be answering in this video. Again, as always, it's your boy, the king of digital real estate. I'm going to be talking about this topic because it's something that I have a lot of knowledge about. It's something that I did for months and months. And in fact, I did this for years. And I believed that pay-per-lead was the game. I believed it was the holy grail when I first got into the business. So let me walk you through my story just briefly in the beginning and tell you about how I got into pay-per-lead and how it worked in the beginning, I found out that it doesn't work long-term, it's not scalable, and all of the things that are in between. So I got my first deal back in 2016, bought my first program, chose towing, got super lucky choosing the city because I didn't even know what I was looking for. Let me keep the lights on, guys. We got some electricity out here in Africa. Woo! Things are looking up today. And I ended up getting my first deal. And when I started, I inherently knew that a flat fee made the most sense, right? Because if you have a flat fee, you know how much money's coming in tomorrow, how much money's coming in next week, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I got my first deal and I just pitched it on a flat rate. Now, the business owner didn't complain, and so I got the deal. But what ended up happening is on my second deal, how I got that deal is I was knocking on doors selling home security systems. The guy told me that he had no interest whatsoever in buying a home security system. And I looked over at his vehicle, at his truck, and he had this wrap. He had a wrap on his car. And I started asking him questions about his business. And I had this thought, I'm like, maybe I should try and pitch this guy on lead generation. Keep in mind, I don't even know what I'm doing. I have one deal under my belt. I'm still going every night studying. I don't have that much confidence, but I'm like, hey, let me just ask him about his business. So we start talking. We spend an hour talking about his business. This is super rare for me because usually if I didn't get the deal, I was on to the next house. But for some reason, I was like, let me just talk to this guy. We talked. He told me about his business. He had a basement waterproofing company. And at the time, I didn't even know what that was. The house that I have in Utah does not even have a basement. It's built on a slab. So I don't even know what this service is. So he's walking me through it. He even has me get in his, and I'm like, dude, I don't even know what's happening here. I met this guy an hour ago. Now I'm crawling in his basement. It was kind of funny, kind of weird, kind of cool. And we just really hit it off. And he said, let me call my partner. And I actually did everything wrong. I dropped price. I didn't even know what to charge. I didn't even know if it was a good niche. And I was like, yeah, it's going to be at least $1,000 a month, whatever. So he says, hey, calls his partner. He says, hey, my partner wants to meet with you tomorrow. Let's go to lunch. So the next day, well, that night I got all of my stuff ready. I did my research. I asked people in my group, hey, have you guys ever tried this niche? I tried to do a little bit of homework on the city. Again, had no idea what I was doing. And I took that information. I remember we met at Texas Roadhouse, and through discussing with these guys, the flat fee wasn't going to work. They weren't going to go for a flat fee. And so my backup was, let's do a pay per lead. Let's tell them that every lead that comes in, they pay me a certain amount. And I had convinced myself, and I had talked to other people, and I had thought about it. I'm like, you know what? Actually, pay per lead is the right model because there's no ceiling, right? With the flat fee, there's a cap. With the flat fee, you can only make so much money. And if you provide results that exceed the expectations, you're still going to make the same money. There's that ceiling on it. So pay per lead's awesome, right? Because I get rewarded, I get compensated for my efforts. And if I can get you 10 more leads at $100 a lead, I'm going to make $1,000 extra that month. So in theory and on paper, the pay per lead model is the game, guys. It is the game in theory, because the more that you produce, the more leads that come in, the more money you make, period. You are rewarded. You are compensated based on performance in theory. Now, here's what actually happens. And this has happened to me every single time I've done a pay-per-lead deal. It's okay in the beginning. Everyone's happy. They're excited because they only pay for the leads that they get. You're excited because you have this carrot that if you perform, if you produce, you're going to get more money. Well, you're going along, and let's just make an example, because this is the example that I had. This is the real scenario, is we had decided $100 per lead. That was it. So everything was good. There were some months that we did 10 leads. There were some months we did 15. I even had a couple months we did like 23, and I was like, shoot, I'm making $2,023, whatever, $100 a month. This is great. Here's the first thing that goes wrong. And no one thinks about this because you don't know unless you've tried it. But every business owner has this breaking point, has this comfortable limit of what they're comfortable paying for. Everyone's okay because in their mind, they have this number like, okay, I'm going to pay $1,000 a month. They send me 10 leads, maybe $1,500, $2,000. But guess what? You as the marketer, you as the lead generator, in your head, you're like, man, if I can get to 100 leads, if I can get to 50 leads, I'm going to go to $5,000, $10,000 a month. Guess guess what happens? There comes a month where you crush it. Your SEO kicks in, your GMB is ranking, obviously part of the SEO. Things are popping, the weather's good. Some niches, maybe there's rain and that helps. Maybe it's dry and that helps. And all of a sudden you have this massive month, right? And you send them over the invoice for 60 leads. You're like, dude, I'm getting $6,000. And you send this invoice over excited as can be. And the business owner gets the invoice and they about ruin their shorts. They go, holy, I didn't even realize it. And guess what they do? They start going and they start making sure, they're like, well, I got to make sure we actually got these leads. So they take a red pencil and they go through and they start nitpicking. Well, actually this guy, he answered and then he didn't want us to come out and do the estimate because we were booked out on estimates. So now they don't want to pay for the lead. And you're like, dude, that's not my problem. You need more salespeople, right? So now there becomes a tussle. And all of a sudden, the 60 leads you should have been paid on is chipped down to 45. And you're okay with it, but there's a little bit of animosity. And so it goes. And the business owner does not want to pay for that. He doesn't have the capacity. He doesn't, or she doesn't have enough people to even run those leads. You're sending so many leads now, they can't even get to them in time. And they're paying for leads that they can't get to. And so they're frustrated and you're frustrated and it ruins the relationship. This happens every single time. There is not an unlimited cap because there is a ceiling and it's an invisible ceiling and it is a ceiling that changes with every single company. Guys, I've worked with companies that are worth $500 million and these are companies that are like, give me as many leads as you can.
Bring it on.
And even they have limits. Even they, when you hit a certain number of leads in the wrong city, like I remember working with a company, multiple brands, multiple companies under the main company, and I'm sitting here just juicing the leads. Well, they want as many leads as possible, but not in Atlanta. They want as many leads as possible in Huntsville, Alabama. And it just becomes this mess. And then they're like, yeah, we need to shut things down here. And they control everything. So number one is the relationship with you and the business owner will always get ruined. It just happens. And if you don't think it does, and you're like, no, my business owner, he's hungry. He has a limit. Just wait. The other thing is predictability and the seasonality of it. No matter what niche you're in, there's going to be some seasonality to it. And so what I got so tired of after doing a little bit of pay per lead for 2 years, I tried this model, is in the winter, come November, I would have huge Septembers and sometimes huge Octobers. I remember one year I even had a massive November because the place was still warm. And then my December, I went from making really good money, I thought, to barely scraping by in December. And it's like, dude, December's Christmas. December's the time you're supposed to go and spoil your kids and your family and all this stuff. And I remember just being like, man, this is not just the cold outside, but this is the proverbial winter as well. In my bank account, it feels like the winter. And so I got tired of this garbage. Another thing is time. Tracking all the leads. It's not just even about tracking, because imagine you send over 60 leads. Who's going through them? Are they going through them? And if they come back and say only 45 were good, are you just going to let the 15 slide, or now are you going to go back through them? In the first place, how are you doing the invoices? How are you tracking what's a lead and what's not? We had a custom software so that every time a phone rang and it came to my email, it would suck it into the software, and I had it tied in with QuickBooks. I mean, this cost me 10 to 15 grand, probably closer to 20 with all the upgrades and stuff at the end. And it was tied into QuickBooks and it would calculate how much per lead, because guys, you're not going to have the same cost per lead for every single company and every single niche, right? It's robust. So the time to just calculate how much each company needs to pay you and what's a good lead and what's a bad lead. And oh, this one you couldn't get a hold of. Well, is that my problem? Do I need to go listen to the voice recording and then have a discussion about one lead over $100? Guys, it does not make sense. It's so much time, energy, and therefore money. And then the last piece is the scalability of it. Because it takes so much time, because it takes so much energy, because it takes so much effort, it is not a scalable model. In order for you to scale that model, you have got to have so much manpower, so many different systems in place and checks and balances, and it becomes an absolute logistical nightmare. So when I finally scaled in 2020, guess what I did? I got rid of all my pay-per-leads.
Get the shit out of here.
And I went strictly 100% with flat fee contracts, 6-month contracts, flat fee. Guess what? There are some areas that, yes, I probably would have made a lot more money doing a pay-per-lead model. I am certain of it. But guess what? I saved so much time, so much energy, so much effort, so much confusion. I saved the relationship with the business owner because it was cut and dry. You pay $250 a week. You pay $500 a week. Whatever the case was, whatever we had agreed on. And that is how I was able to scale. It's one of the main reasons, that and the pre-selling, but switching to that flat fee. And the reason I knew the flat fee was the game is when I went all in 2020, when I said, I'm giving this a fair shake and I'm going to figure out this pre-selling, I looked at the few clients that I had that were lead generation clients, that were digital real estate clients, guess what? Flat fee deals. Flat fee deals that I had almost forgotten I had because the cards were just getting charged and they were happy and I was happy, and it was 150 or 250 or whatever per week, which is, $750, let's say $600 to $1,000 plus per month. Those are the deals that work. So guys, all in all, in theory, the pay-per-lead model is the best model on the planet, but in practice, in reality, it does not work. It is not scalable. It is time intensive, and it will ruin the relationship. I don't care how big the company is. I don't care how hungry they are. I don't care how good they are at closing. It will ruin the relationship you have with your customer. And to build big business in digital real estate, you need clients that stay with you and you need clients that grow with you.